In just the next 7 days, roughly 49% of all U.S. imports could be disrupted because of a massive strike that's going to happen over on the East Coast. Now, this strike is going to impact millions and millions of jobs. People could actually be furloughed or fired because of what is about to happen in these ports. Today I want to break down what's going on, why this next week is so crucial, and what we are currently seeing. So today, I'm going to break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoyed these daily updates, and now let's begin. So we need to get right down to the facts, and here are the facts. The largest port on the U.S. East Coast, it's the New York, New Jersey, begins prepping for what could be the first union strike since 1977. But here's why this is such a big deal. The International Longshoremen Association represents over 85,000 port workers, and a strike would shut down 5 of the 10 busiest ports in North America, and a total of 36 ports along the East and Gulf Coast. Now, I want to play this clip for you. Look at this right here. And again, this is just going to show you how big of a deal this is.
Workers are threatening to strike if a new labor agreement with shipping companies represented by the United States Maritime Alliance is not reached by October 1st.
All activity in the Port of New York and New Jersey with regards to containerized cargo and automobile cargo will cease.
Each year, more than $200 billion worth of goods, including car parts, construction materials, and produce pass through the Port of New York and New Jersey alone. That trade supports more than 500,000 local jobs.
500,000 local jobs. That doesn't even account for the jobs that are going inland. This is a huge, huge issue. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, it's not that big of a deal. If these ports shut down, then those carriers will just take their cargo to another port. And that's fine. That's perfectly acceptable and it's doable, but it's going to tack on delays. It's going to tack on costs. And another thing, this also means that the other ports, likely over on the West Coast, are going to be overloaded. Remember, the West Coast ports just had a recent negotiation. And in their recent negotiation, they fought for better pay, better working conditions. Right? They fought for all those things. But it's what is happening now. Again, this is troubling. This is very troubling because what we are about to see is this union. Again, they're fighting for a substantial increase. Okay? And I want to address that in just a minute. But what you need to keep in mind is that about 45,000 dock workers are potentially going to go on strike. This could be one of the biggest strikes we've seen in recent years. But it could have a monumental impact on our economy simply because it puts supply chains at risk. Now, I want to show you something. Okay? It says looming U.S. ports strike threatens fresh supply chain crisis. The United States has just come off a crisis because of COVID, but we could be going right back to it. Now, I want to show you this. Okay? It says the International Longshoremen Association says its 25,000 members will walk off the job if the union does not come to an agreement with the U.S. Maritime Alliance, which represents carriers and maritime terminal operators before their contract expires on September 30th. The contract covers all ports between Maine and Texas, including New York, Savannah, Houston, Miami, New Orleans, and there's a few others in there as well. It says they receive 71% of the country's containerized port volume, and their closure would have a devastating impact on the U.S. economy. A coalition of 177 trade groups warned last week. Now, here's the reason why this would be such a big deal. Okay, I want to show you these numbers right here. It says, with over 45,000 dock workers involved in the dispute, here's one of the things I just want to get out of the way. There's up to like 85,000 that they represent, but as far as how many people are going to go on strike, we do not know for sure. The expectation is anywhere between 30 and 45,000. Okay, That's why these numbers are somewhat misleading. It says, with over 45,000 dock workers involved in the dispute, the economic consequences are staggering. These workers, represented by the ILA, have been pushing for a 77% wage increase over the next 6 years, along with protections against automation in the industry. Currently, union workers earn a base pay of $39 per hour, translating to roughly $81,000 per year. Here's the economic fallout. Experts estimate that the U.S. economy could face a daily loss of up to $3.7 billion if the port worker strike goes forward. Now, this is going to impact about 49% of all U.S. imports that effectively pass through these. But that $3.7 billion, they say it's up to that. Well, there's even reports saying that this could cost $5 billion per day. $5 billion. That is a staggering number. Now, I bring all this to your attention because of one thing. If we see a supply chain crisis kind of rear its head, especially right before the election and right before the holiday season, this is going to cause additional upward inflation. Inflation has come down to 2.5% off its peak of 9.1. That's great. But the concern is we see a rebound of inflation. That's the concern. Because right now, what just happened? Well, the Federal Reserve decided to cut interest rates by 50 basis points. A lot of people were very excited about that because now it's easier to buy a car, easier to buy a home. Their credit card rates might not be as high and things like that. But what does this do? Well, it causes more people to go buy a car, go buy a home, open up a new line of credit and spend. Guess what? That causes additional inflation. By that causing additional inflation, and then on piggybacking onto a supply chain crisis, potentially because of this strike of the International Longshoremen's Union or Association, this could mean even more upward pressure. Think about that for a second. We're heading into a time where we normally do see prices rise because it's the holiday shopping season. More people are spending money. Makes sense. But that, along with this potential strike, which would cause supply chain issues, and with the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates, that's concerning. That is extremely concerning. Now, I bring all this to your attention, okay? A lot of people have been asking so many different questions, like, is it really going to happen? How long would this go on for? And all this stuff. But here's what I can tell you. There has been discussions that the federal government could easily step in and say, no, you are not going on strike. Okay, we do not allow that to happen at this time. Because why would they want one of the biggest maritime unions to go on strike? Especially right before an election, 1 month before an election? They don't want that. They absolutely don't want that. So the federal government could easily step in, but that's going to cause all these workers to be upset. Because now they're being forced to go back to work. Again, they're asking for a 77% wage increase over the next 6 years. Remember, and I've talked about this over the past week or two, or actually the past week, because we're just now stepping into the second week of the Boeing strike. But the Boeing machinists, they're asking for a 40% wage increase over 3 years. But Boeing only wants to give them like a 25% wage increase over the next 4 years. So we're going to see what happens. But the one thing I can tell you is if we see this strike happen on October 1st, this could be devastating to the U.S. economy and to millions and millions of people. So the one thing I can promise you is I will be here every step of the way, and I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates. But as of today, that is all we know. They're still negotiating the contract. Experts do believe that they will reach an agreement, but it might not happen before October 1st. So, as we get more information, I promise I'll be back and I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. But again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.